Now I will discuss with you each and every part of Form 26AS. Part A. This Part A gives you details of tax deducted at source. For example, an employee whose income is more than taxable limit and his employer has deducted tax from his salary, that tax deducted will appear in part A of Form 26ES. The second part is part A1. This part A1 gives you details of all your incomes for which you have submitted Form 15G bar Form 15H. What is this Form 15G, 15H? The only difference between Form 15G and 15H is Form 15G will be given by non-senior citizen, whereas Form 15H will be given by an assessee who is senior citizen. Why will an assessee give Form 15G or 15H? An assessee whose income is less than taxable limit of 2.5 lakh or 3 lakhs as the case may be can give a declaration in Form 15G or 15H saying that my income is less than taxable limit and so don't deduct tax at source. So an assessee who has given Form 15G and 15H, the deductor will not deduct any tax, but those incomes will reflect in part A1 of Form 26AS. Then Form 26AS has a part which pertains to tax deduction at source when you sell an immovable property. For this, I'll give a simple example. An assessee has sold a residential property whose registration value is more than
50 lakhs.
In such a case, the buyer, while giving the sale consideration to the seller, will deduct 1% from the sale consideration. That 1% will appear in part A2 of Form 26AS. Part B. Details of tax collected at source. A simple example of this tax collected at source is an assessee has purchased a vehicle whose value is more than 10 lakhs. Then the seller of that vehicle will collect 1% from the buyer. That 1% of tax collected from the buyer of the vehicle whose value is more than 10 lakhs will appear in part B of his 26AS. Part C, the last one which is appearing in this slide, part C. This pertains to all taxes that an assessee has paid other than the details appearing in part A, that is TDS, and details appearing in part B, that is TCS. What are the taxes that an assessee pays other than TDS and TCS? One of the tax is advance tax which he pays in 4 installments during the assessment year. The second one is self-assessment tax that he pays after the financial year and before filing his income tax return. The third one is tax on regular assessment, which will be paid by an assessee after filing his income tax return and a demand has been raised by assessing officer in his assessment order. So, his advance tax, self-assessment tax, tax on regular assessment will appear in Part C of Form 26 ES. The next part is Part B, which has details of all income tax refunds that an assessee has received during the assessment year. These refunds may pertain to any previous years, but he has received during the current assessment year. Those refunds will appear in Part D. Part E, which is very important. This has details of special financial transactions. Example of special financial transactions are if an assessee has dealt in purchase or sale of shares, debentures, mutual funds, etc. will appear in Part E. Part F. Earlier we have seen Part A2, which has TDS on sale of immovable property. Part F is in relation to the same sale of immovable property but from buyer's angle. This Part F details will appear in this part when you are a buyer of a property whose value is more than 50 lakhs and you have deducted tax at source. Any amounts that are reflecting in Part B, the assessee cannot take Part B, the assessee cannot take credit of those TDS amounts appearing in Part F. Part G. Part G pertains to TDS defaults that a deductor has made during the assessment year, such as delay in payment of TDS amounts that he has deducted or filing of quarterly returns within the due date. Those defaults will appear in Part G. The last part, Part H, is with respect to assessees who are carrying out business or profession and or registered under GST. Those assessees would have filed GSTR 3B declaring their turnovers. Those turnovers will appear in Part H. These are the details which will appear in Form 26 AS, and an assessee has to invariably verify these details and see that these details are included in his income tax